and today I'm going to tell you about my 2019 reading stats and how I did on all of my goals in 2019. I had a really great reading year in 2019. It was kind of a dramatic year. A lot was going on in my personal life, but I feel like that just kind of fueled my enthusiasm for books. When things were getting crazy in my personal life, all I wanted to do was sit quietly and read. So before we get into the stats and the goals and everything, I want to make sure that you know that Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. Today's MK shoutout goes to Anna, who is 10 years old and lives with her family in Mexico. She loves to read books like Little House on the Prairie. If you want to donate to Anna and children like her, you can do so at gofundme.com. And please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. One of my biggest reading goals every year is the Goodreads challenge. And in 2019, I challenged myself to read 200 books. And I'm here to tell you that I did not read 200 books. I read 300 books. I am not even sure what happened. My reading just kind of exploded and I just kept reading. It all kind of started in September when I did the 30 books in 30 days challenge, and I read 30 books in 30 days, and then, I don't know, I just kept reading and reading, and by the end of December, I had read an extra 100 books over my Goodreads goal. 100 of those books were nonfiction. I read 13 adult fantasy books. I read 22 YA books, 46 middle grade books, 20 children's books, and 40 picture books. I read 17 classics and 42 comics and graphic novels. I think really that's why I was able to read so much, because I read so much nonfiction, which a lot of those books I was able to read through very quickly. Somehow whenever I'm reading nonfiction, I tend to skim a little bit more than I would if I was reading a novel, so I read through nonfiction pretty quick. And of course I read 40 picture books, which usually when I read a picture book, I read through it 2 or 3 times, and then I write my review, which takes me probably about half an hour. So it still represents a good chunk of time that it took to read and review that book, but still, you know, picture books, those are quick. I was looking through my stats and there was one thing that really surprised me, and that is that out of the 300 books that I read in 2019, 171 of those were review copies that I received from publishers and authors in exchange for a free and honest review. I had no clue that so many of those were review copies. Like, I guess I just didn't think about it, or I just didn't realize that I had been requesting or accepting so many review copies. I mean, that's more than half. That's more than half of the books that I read in 2019 were review copies. That's a little crazy. I'm not really sure if that's a good thing or how I feel about that. I kind of feel like I need to just be reading my own books that I already own. I don't need to be accepting more new books coming in. So I feel like that's not where I want my focus to be, but I also feel very blessed and very privileged to have been able to read so many of these beautiful new books that are being published. So I feel, I don't know, I feel very honored that I was given the opportunity to, you know, receive those review copies. But I also feel like you need to focus on your own books, girl. I really love the feature on Goodreads where they don't just tell you how many books you read, they also give you a page count. My page count for 2019 is 54,866 pages. That is a lot of reading. But if you consider that that's representative of 300 books, you can definitely tell that many of those books were very short. A lot of those were way under 100 pages or maybe up to 150 pages, but a lot of those were very short books, which is of course why I was able to read so many of them. The longest book that I read in 2019 was Cecilia by Fanny Burney, and it has 1,056 pages. The shortest book that I read was a baby board book called All Around Bustletown, and that one only has 14 pages. My average star rating was 3.9 stars, so I really enjoyed most of the books that I read. I gave 80 books 5 stars. I gave 141 books 4 stars. I gave 53 books 3 stars. I gave 21 books 2 stars, and I only gave 5 books a 1-star rating. So that is pretty good. Most of those books fall into the 4 or 5-star category. Now let's get into some of my reading goals for 2019, and I'm gonna let you know how I did. One of my goals was to read 12 classics, and of course I surpassed that. I actually ended up reading 17 classics. Now that includes what I call actual classics, and that includes modern classics as well. I had a goal to read at least 50 of my Get Rid of It books. These are books that I just bought really cheaply at library book sales for 50 cents or $1 at used book sales and stuff. And they just look sort of interesting, but I'm not really even sure if I'm still interested in reading that book. It's just kind of sitting there on a shelf. So I wanted to try out these books and maybe DNF some of them and just get some of them off the shelves, get them off of my TBR. And because of my 30 books in 30 days that I did in September, I ended up reading 58 of my Get Rid of It books. Another goal that I had was that I wanted to finish at least 8 series. I have so many series that I'm in the middle of, and I was like, that's it. I need to finish these up. I need to just read the last 2 or 3 books in that series and get it done. So I wanted to finish at least 8 of those. However, I only finished 4. I just kept getting distracted by other books. And so I only finished 4 series, but still, that's not too bad. It's definitely moving forward. And I feel like even if you don't completely meet your goal, as long as you have some forward momentum where you got something done towards that goal, then that's a win. Another huge goal that I had in 2019 was that I wanted to finish editing my journals. I did a video on that, I think a couple of years ago now, when I started editing my journals, and I wanted to just have them in a more compact way. And this year, I finally finished that. That was such an emotional moment for me to go through all of these past memories and edit through those things and type them up. Oh, it feels so good to have that done and to have that accomplished. And those are my updates on all of my 2019 goals. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know, how did you do on your 2019 resolutions and goals? Please be looking out for a video coming up telling you all about my 2020 reading goals and what I have planned for my reading in the coming year. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right books in the right hands at the right time can change the world.